What's up, traders? My name is Daniel, and this is a quick tutorial on how to use Stratr AI to create your own indicators and strategies for TradingView using PineScript. Once you create an account, head over to our extension page and add our Chrome extension to your browser. Once added, your agent will be able to directly interact with your TradingView tab, whether it's to pull backtest results or potential error logs. Once you're in the workspace, you will see that it's divided into three sections. On the left, you have your assistant. You can provide it with YouTube links, TikTok links, screenshots, PDFs, or just basic English and discuss your strategy. It comes in two modes, high as well as regular. Regular mode is meant for non-code related tasks, such as pulling backtest results, discussing the more advanced statistical analyses, as well as potential guidance on what the next steps should be. High mode is much better for the actual coding part, as it is more proficient in the PineScript language. One thing to mention is, though they both have the same tools available to them and they could both work on your strategy, the high mode has limits on how much you could use per month based on your plan. You can check your usage in the profile screen. Regular, on the other hand, is unlimited across all plans for the month. To the right, you have the actual editor. By default, every strategy comes with two files. You have script.pine, this is where the main strategy code is going to live and where the agent is going to be working, and the README file, which is just plain English for what your strategy entails, whether it's entry rules, exit rules, the indicators you're using, so on and so forth. If you're a non-technical user, or you're not familiar with the PineScript language, this is going to prove very useful as it makes it very clear on what exactly your strategy is doing and what the agent is working on. Finally, at the bottom, you have the results. We don't have any yet, but this is where the backtests will appear. Here, you'll be able to compare backtests across different symbols, different timeframes, different parameters, as well as different versions of your code, which I'll explain later on. Also, you'll be able to view the more advanced statistics, such as the Monte Carlo simulation. Anyways, for the sake of the demo, we'll be building a very basic 200 RSI strategy, and I'll switch to regular, and then I'll say build just the README file. Now, since we're using very basic indicators like the RSI and the SMAs, I don't have to take any extra steps. If I wanted to build on top of an existing strategy or a more niche, more specific indicator from a specific author, what I would do is I would add it to my TradingView chart. I would select the curly brackets. I would copy, create a new file. Since it's a MACD, I'll call it MACD. Don't forget to add the .pine, as that's the language. And there you go. I would do it this way rather than pasting it directly into the chat, and I strongly suggest you do so as well, because if you paste it directly to the agent, eventually the context is going to grow and your agent will forget about the code that you provided it with. If you add it directly into the source of truth, it will remain there for good, and in the future, you'll have the exact reference of what your strategy is doing. Perfect, let's remove that. All right, now we see that the README is complete. Long entry is just a trend filter, so it's above the 200 SMA. RSI drops below 50. And then the opposite for the short entry. Very basic strategy. We do not expect much of an edge, but nevertheless, looks good. I'll build it. Now, remember, we must escalate to the high as it performs better with PineScript. For development, I like to keep two tabs open. One tab is for the agent. This is where it will be running backtests as well as pulling potential errors. And then a second tab, this is for myself. And here I can freely move and do what I would like. Let's also rename to. All right, so after some time, we see that it has updated the code. Mark is seen. Now we have the running badge, which means it's testing via the extension to see if there's any compilation errors. Let's give it a second. Perfect. As you can see, it compiled. And let's just give it a few more seconds so it can give us a final message. All right, so the agent has sent its final message. It's completely done the job. We see on the 3-minute, it performs quite poorly with a negative 6% return. This is expected considering the fact that we got the strategy off of Google. Let's test out other timeframes such as the 15. All right, so here it does an 18.5% gain, profit factor of basically 1. Nothing too beautiful. Now, one thing to remember is the fact that for backtests to be accurate, you need to incorporate things like slippage, as well as potential fees that you're going to pay with your broker. For the demo, we did not do that. If this was a for production build, I would definitely. We can go back to Stratr. Here we pull report. And what this does is it saves all of the current parameters, the results, as well as the actual code for that specific backtest. So then in the future, you're able to compare against different symbols, times, and so on. Here's the curve. This is very basic information that we see inside of TradingView, and then below is the actual Monte Carlo simulation. We have a robustness score of 7.2, which is quite poor considering the fact that it's out of 100 and the agent rejects it. If we have any questions about what the statistics mean, we can always send it to the agent, as it has access to all the backtests and it can answer our questions. All right, let's now move on to Ethereum. Now, on Ethereum, it also does quite poor, 13% after 400 trades. It beats the underlying asset though, so can't complain too much. Let's pull the report. Once again, it's going to save the parameters as well as the source code and the trades and so on. Just a few seconds. Perfect. Now we can compare it against our BTC results. Still, this is nowhere near ready to go live or anything like that. And we can also go to advanced testing. Here, we're able to test on entire universes of assets, whether it's stocks, funds, futures, crypto indices, and so on. For this, for example, I would go to crypto, and it will run backtests on the 99 of the most commonly traded crypto assets available, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and so on. Now that's about it for the workspace, and we can go back. Here's your script screen. Here you will find all of your current indicators and strategies and brief report cards about their performances based on the best backtest results. You have the options to edit the name, archive, or branch it. Branching creates a carbon copy of your current workspace. You can continue working on the original strategy without editing the underlying code. That way, if you have multiple ideas for where the next steps should be, you can try all of them and cut the ones that don't perform as well as you want it to. Anyways, that about does it for Stratr AI. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments or message me directly. Happy trading.